Today, we are honored to welcome a person who represents the best traditions of American service, Dr. Prince Taylor. A U.S. Navy veteran with 12 years of service, he continues to serve the American nation to this day. Prince Taylor leads one of the largest volunteer programs in the federal government. As the Deputy Director of the Center for Development and Civic Engagement at the Department of Veterans Affairs, Prince Taylor coordinates the work of 46,000 volunteers who contribute more than 4.4 million hours annually in care for veterans. Dr. Taylor is the leader who, during COVID-19 pandemic, created the Compassionate Contact Corps program, recognized by the American Red Cross and featured in the New York Times as a model for the future of healthcare. He also founded the official TEDx program for the Department of Veterans Affairs, giving a platform to those who have served the United States. From earning a Doctor of Education degree at Vanderbilt University to becoming a national expert on the issue of loneliness, every step of his journey has been guided by a single purpose: to make veterans' lives better and more fulfilling. Dr. Taylor's mission extends beyond his official duties. It is rooted in serving society by developing leadership and strengthening human connection.
Thank you so much for being with us today. It's a big honor, and it's a big pleasure to talk to you, to see a little bit more you as a person and understand what you live by and what exactly moves you, what kind of, spark led you to dedicate your life to support veterans, to help people, and to really devote your life for the public service.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for that very kind and generous introduction. I almost didn't recognize that guy. I was raised by a single mom. My dad was in and out the picture, but I was raised by a single mom. Started out on the south side of Chicago, ended up in different parts of Illinois and then other places. And one thing that was instilled pretty early was to think about other people, service to others. I'm also a Navy vet, but it wasn't the military. It was really just being in different communities with my nuclear family and my mom and everyone, and just seeing how when there wasn't a lot to eat, we would go to my mom Julianne's friend's house and have oatmeal for breakfast, and then her son would come to our house for rice for dinner, and so I've just always kept that with me as far as trying to be of service to others and building communities.
Thank you so much for sharing. And actually, I read what you mentioned about your kindness, curiosity, the sincerity, that these kind of values which actually taught your mom and your grandmom.
Yes, my grandmother.
And, when I was reading that, that's really very sincere and very, honest, right? And it's so heartwarming feelings. And I think these kind of values for sure shape you as a person, right? Yeah. And maybe you can share, maybe you have any stories in your life, any situations, probably in your leadership or in any other, probably a challenge situation might be, but when these kind of values helped you to make decisions, probably sometimes not popular decisions, but the right one.
Are you in my life right now? I was thinking about this earlier today, but even over the past week or so, everyone knows that leadership is hard, but it's really hard when you know that you're doing the right thing and other people are wanting to do the easy thing. And sometimes those are the same things, but a lot of times they aren't, which is why leadership is so hard. What I have found is that a lot of folks get really caught up in intelligence. I went to a really good school, right? A lot of people have gone to really good schools. A lot of people haven't. But just having credentials don't mean anything if you don't have integrity behind it. Doesn't mean anything if you don't have kindness behind it. Doesn't mean anything if you don't have compassion behind it. And I think sometimes people get so wrapped up into their own accolades and their own trophy, so to speak, that they forget the bigger picture, which is why we're here, which is to help make life better for less fortunate people. And at some point, I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this. I think we all need a little help at some point, right? I did a a conference. We were on a panel, and one of the questions that was asked, and the other person was an American vet as well. One of the questions that was asked for Ukrainian veterans that were in the audience, many of them ambulatory, was what kind of advice would you give? And the other person said to rely on yourself. And I was like, I couldn't disagree more vehemently. Your communities out there, especially with the things that are going on in the world right now, your communities want to be there for you. A lot of them can't be on the front lines, so they want to support the people that are. And so when you come home, please allow them to bring you a meal, to have the NGOs serve you in different ways. I think that that's really important, not only for the physical health, but also for a veteran's mental health, because a lot of times they don't realize that others recognize and honor the sacrifice. I'll tell you another story that is very dear to me because it's one of my friends. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, the U.S. was involved in the Vietnam conflict. And there was a gentleman who was probably 18, 19 years old that sacrificed himself by diving on a hand grenade, saved his entire platoon. And I hope I got this story correct. And he was just thinking, I need to do something to save my community here. And of course, he didn't make it. But it took years. His mother picked up the torch and said, I want to honor my son. And she became what we call a Gold Star mother because she lost her son in battle. And now the Miami VA, the Miami Veterans Affairs Medical Center, is named after her son. And she just celebrated her 94th birthday last week. And I sent her flowers that she received today because she's really sweet. But that is an example of not just that person, but his entire family still giving service. She is actually one of our volunteers at the Miami Medical Center. And that's how I got to meet her. I was doing a tour, and they said, you know who this is? And do you know who her son was? And or who her son is? And so we still keep in touch as much as we can. Her name is Miss Georgie Krell. I just want to give her that shout out.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. And, I definitely agree that this kind of values is a foundation. Otherwise, if you don't have a foundation, then, like you said, there is no value. There is no. What's the goal, right?
What's the goal?
What's the goal?
Yeah, a lot of people, it's easy to get caught up in social media and all the likes and clicks and everything. But if you don't have that foundation, I don't think no number of clicks are going to make you whole or make you happy even. And so, I try to stick with integrity. Another thing that I think is healthy is surrounding yourself with positive people, positive and kind people, which I try to do. I think that's sort of how you and I met, and I'm very grateful for that. But like that whole sort of ecosystem, with everything going on in the world, including in your part of the world, I couldn't be sadder. But I do appreciate that it's given folks an opportunity to see, how can I put this? Well, it's given us an opportunity to meet, but also I get to see that we're a lot more similar than we are dissimilar. And you can go back just a few decades where I might have thought differently because of the sort of propaganda that people get when they're in their parts of the world. But if you travel and if you read and if you have friends from different cultures, you realize that most of us want to feel safe and secure. Most of us want our families to feel safe and secure, and we want to be able to live our lives without a lot of negativity swirling around us.
I definitely agree, and we even do have the evidence of that because we launched actually as volunteers, as the international movement who the people support ALLATRA movement in 180 countries. And we launched the project since 2017. That was the project Universal Grain. That is something which have in common. And our volunteers in 180 countries, went out to streets, talked to their colleagues, friends, or somebody they even don't know, and they ask one simple question, actually, what unites us? What do you think do we have in common? And when you start hearing all those answers from different parts of the world where you are like, even maybe some countries you never heard of, but they say the same thing. And you understand this is our universal grain, how to find these, what we have in common. It's the inner thing, which is, and it's, you just
You are
remind me
getting
that.
me excited because that you're absolutely right. So last week, I think you mentioned in the bio that I brought TEDx too. So one of my TEDx speakers, one of our TEDx speakers from a couple of years ago, lives in Minneapolis. And his jam is veterans with spinal cord injuries and disorders. And he reached out to me, and he's a great guy, but we haven't spoken in a while. And I said, well, how can I be of service? How can I help you? He said, well, we've been doing these surveys with these people with spinal cord injuries, and there's a theme that keeps coming up. Like, so what's the theme? A lot of them are experiencing quite a bit of loneliness. And he remembered Compassionate Contact Corps. He says, is there anything that you guys can do to help out with this? And I said, well, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have a lot of volunteers, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have a lot of demand, sometimes you don't. And I said, well, maybe we can do something for your group here, that cohort. How many are we thinking? And he said, well, there's 987 just in Minneapolis. There's 960 something in Palo Alto. I was like, how many veterans do you think could benefit from this program? And he said, well, on the low end, 5,000 and maybe up to 10. And that's when it struck me, because I have folks in my group that we believe in quality over quantity. I get that. But we did not understand the depth of that demand. We're talking about connection now, right? How people that were vibrant and running around and everything, you end up with a spinal cord injury. You're not doing those things anymore. The friends that you used to hang out with aren't necessarily coming around anymore, but you still have that need for connection. And that's where volunteers come in. And so I have people on my own team that are like, why do we need so many volunteers? Thinking because we have a lot of vets, and they don't all need to do the same thing. But with the demand that I just heard about last week, we can train a lot of volunteers to do something like that. And where volunteerism is going, I think, in the future, and we have to be prepared for this, isn't going to be where they go to a specific location, at least in my area of volunteerism. I think that we have to start getting adjusted to where a lot more of it is virtual. And programs like Compassionate Contact Corps, they're making phone calls every week to not just check in, but to sort of build relationships with the veterans. But we have people that give them rides to and from their medical appointments. We have people that greet them when they come into the medical centers. There's a lot of different points of contact, or touch points, I think is what we call them, where we make people feel welcomed. And if we're doing our jobs well, we're making everyone feel welcomed, for the reason that you mentioned earlier about that single grain that connects us, that connective tissue. And one of the things that I fear in the climate that we're in right now is people othering each other and moving away from that thing that brings us together.
That's true. And, like you also brought up the thing about the propaganda, the media, and a lot of things, and the social media. That's a good one. I mean, in one way, right? We can use it in a good way. The social media, this is the era where you can spread the information. You have this ability, right? You can speak with each other, being in different parts of the world, right? And seeing each other at least, right?
Yes, at its best.
Yeah. But at the same time, of course, we have a also another side, and you know, this propaganda works through that, this you know, media and stuff. So, but that's what I truly believe that it's also up to us, right? And to understand that how much it is important to, you know, check the information, check the facts, use the critical thinking, and build that, not just listen and believe, but then just, you know, understand all that stuff.
But that works for us, right? The people that I'm not concerned about you. You are intelligent, well-read, I can tell. The people that I'm concerned about with that are people that are less well-read, you know, that have already chosen their tribes. And as long as it comes from this tribe, it's true. If it doesn't come from this tribe, then it must not be true. So I'm really concerned about those folks, but I'm also concerned about the youth. I had a conversation once with someone from Kazakhstan. I think they have a pretty high suicidal ideation rate with their young people. I hope I'm telling the truth, right? I'm pretty sure it was Kazakhstan, but it could have been a different country. And the person said to me that 15, 20 years ago, all these children seemed to be happy. And then all of a sudden, they got those. And they started seeing what kids their ages were doing in Los Angeles, New York, London, Dubai. And it started making them feel isolated and lonely and insecure, whereas that wasn't the case before. And so I agree that social media is a wonderful thing when it's used responsibly, but we have to figure out a way to make sure that for those vulnerable populations like the youth and everything, that their access is also responsible.
For sure. You know, we jump from one topic to another.
I'm a Gemini.
It's really cool.
I'm a Gemini.
That's really nice. But you know, like, first of all, I also wanted to ask, just a little bit come back to the thing. Maybe you can share to the people, to our viewers, what it means to be for you a veteran, and who is the veteran for you. I mean, like, how do you define it? And also, what kind of challenges usually veterans go through? Because I know a lot of people know about that, but I'm not sure if that's a broad perspective, right? So
right. Yeah, because, you know, most vets, and of course, I'm only speaking for myself, most vets don't want to be seen as the hero. You know, it's like, it's my job, I'm doing my job. Also, most vets don't want to be seen as broken. And so it's like this false dichotomy where it's bifurcated. You're either the hero or you're broken. Most of us are in the middle. This is just an internal joke. It's like there's something wrong with us to sign up voluntarily to go out and do that. But we also understand that someone has to do it. There's a saying in the veteran community here in the US and probably in other places as well, that all gave some gave all. So Bruce Carter, Georgie's son, he gave all. I gave some, but everyone that has done some or all should be honored for that, especially if they gave honorable service, and also especially if they volunteered. But I know, like in Norway, they have conscriptions. I have some great friends back in my NATO days that were conscripts, and it was just part of what they did. I doff my cap to anyone who serves their country, and that's whether you're male, female, straight or gay, or anything on either of those spectrums. I think the fact that you want to protect your country says a lot about who you are as a person, and that is worth being honored. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah, you know, when I started, you know, a little bit, I would say, look into people who are veterans in different countries, and for sure, like I see, like you said, it's people, true people who, just like you said, they understand that. But if I will not defend, who's going to do this, right? And it's a big responsibility. It's a big action. It's a big thing, and it's really a lot of, you know, sacrifices, and it's a big honor. Because for me, like, I see those people, I see how much strength inside. It's a big example, what I'm trying to say, because I truly, believe the more probably veterans will speak and speak more about even how they behave daily life, how they, this discipline, this all this stuff, it can teach a lot of our people who can take this as an example. But I believe these people never out of service, like impossible, right?
Most aren't. You're absolutely right. I also want to say that I don't think that the military is for everyone. There are a lot of different ways that people can serve in nonprofits, volunteerism, as we've already mentioned. The military is just one way to do that. Some people get involved as community organizers or in politics. Librarians, teachers, all of those things are also ways to serve. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm so biased towards veterans. I just happen to be one. But I'm also very cognizant that it's not for everyone. It's not for everybody at all.
I would say in a way we have a lot of things common, but at the same time each person is a unique person and have their gifts, their talents, and for sure. But like from my perspective, I would say that veterans for sure can teach a lot, because this discipline, this power, this strengthens. It's like the thing which can help you anywhere you go, anywhere you serve, anyway you're in a nonprofit, you're working in the library, or you're a teacher. It can help a lot, and it's kind of like a big example.
It gets instilled in you. You're absolutely right. I worked for NATO for a little while, and it was very interesting to see that sort of connective tissue across the different countries and also across different services within their militaries. So you're absolutely right.
Just recently, we also get another interview with the Ukrainian veteran before, Sergei Pozniak. Of course, we see and we know how much you support Ukraine and how much you support and help Ukrainian veterans. And here I just, come to the point, probably you wanted to say something to Ukrainian veterans. And yeah, maybe you want to say something here.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I've said it before, so I'm already on record. When you come home, make sure you allow your communities to be there for you. I know that sometimes with veterans, we like to suffer in silence. That's not good. That's not good for you. It's not good for your families, and it's not good for your communities. And ultimately, it's not good for your country. The best thing that you can do is allow them to give you parades if they want to give you parades. Allow them to say thank you for your service if they want to say thank you for your service. And just remember that, how can I say this? Remember that what you were fighting for, you will still be fighting for when you come home. And then you also let people pick up that battalion and fight for you. And the way they would fight for you is different than the way you did when you were serving. They fight for you by giving you certain benefits. Here in the U.S., I was able to use a guaranteed loan to buy my house. I was able to go back to school. And I was even able to get a leg up for a job. And so those are ways that we kind of do it here. We also take care of each other with medical if you were injured in the military. Those are all ways that our country and our communities are giving back to us. There are a lot of veteran service organizations. You mentioned American Red Cross, but there DAV, American Legion, American Veterans of Foreign Wars, there are a lot of them. So yeah, when you go back home, please allow those communities to support you. And if you want to join one of them or lead one of them, those are other ways that you can continue your service. And I think that that's a wonderful thing, because veterans know what war is like. And so I think that we are a lot less anxious to see the next cohort have to go to something and fight unnecessarily.
And here also come to my mind this question about if I can say, the friendships, right, between the veterans, and if I can call it like a brotherhood, and which really, I would say transcend all the borders, nationalities, doesn't it? Because you really can feel it, you can see that when the veterans even meet each other from different countries, but they have this common ground. They know who they are. They know, and it's very, how can I call it? It's touching, I would say, in a way. And maybe you can share, is there something unique about that, I would say, bond that brings veterans together across like oceans, continents, and
I thought it was just me. I hugged a lot of Ukrainian vets after that thing, exchanged some numbers and stuff. But no, like I said, it's something that you have to choose to do usually, unless there's conscription. Not very many other people understand basic training and then being out there and and I'm not a combat vet, so I don't want to misrepresent myself or anything, but you never know when you have to be ready. So most of your time is preparing to be ready and hoping that you never have to use what you've been preparing for. And not a lot of people will ever understand that, which is why, and then the horrors of war. And we don't have to dig too deep into that, but with the TEDx talks that we did at my job, we had several vets that talked about the horrors of war and how when they came home, they didn't feel worthy, drugs, alcohol, a lot of different kinds of abuses and everything. But what tends to work are peer-to-peer counselings, peer-to-peer interventions, and of course having someone phone. But even with compassionate contact, of course, sometimes they will say, and it's not just a brotherhood, it's a brother and sisterhood. Sometimes they will say, can I have a veteran call? Can I have a female veteran call me? And the reason why they would say that is because there's that unique, almost singular experience that people have. And one time we had two people who were veterans phoning each other, or one was phoning the other, and they found out that they had served together and didn't even realize it, like in the same area around the same time. We had another pair that they were in the same building. And I was like, hey, man, just meet me downstairs. So, but yeah, those are connections that as much as other people might want to give those to you, they can't. And I'll say, I know I'm talking a lot now. I'll go even further. When we talk about loneliness, there are different kinds, right? And so this is also important to understand that you could be happily married to someone and both of you can still be extremely lonely, because that's just one aspect of connection and this sort of romantic intimacy thing. But also you have community, which we've been talking about. But I don't know if you have a best friend that you might talk to differently than you would your boyfriend or husband or girlfriend or whatever, or differently than you would talk to at your church. It's always nice to have those different because we're whole people. We're not just one type of person. We're complex. And sometimes people like to say, this is who I am. And yeah, you're on a spectrum. We're all on a spectrum. Some might be a little bit further, some not so far, but I feel like I've just really gone off the deep end on you. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's important to,
thank you.
It's really, really important because this kind of things really help people to understand more, I would say, who they are, how they can deal with different situations.
And this goes for men and women, is that when your soldier, sailor, airman, airwoman comes home, don't think that you have to be all things to them, because no one can be. And I think that has been the source of a lot of conflict, especially here. People, wives and husbands would think that they have to do all the things. That's why I keep saying, reach out to your community. No one should have to be all things to anyone.
That's true. And thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I just wanted to say, I truly believe it's important, because if we will be really honest, we all go through that.
Yeah, we
do. Right this moment, all those, a lot of families go through all of that things. So, and I think it's really good to talk honestly about that, not just playing that or fine.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of questions that we go through a lot of things, and let's talk about that. And it's fine. It can help somebody with the understanding.
Because what ends up happening, and I've seen this with women more than I've seen it with men, but I was on a panel discussion about this too, is let's say it's a young lady and she marries this big strapping dude that goes off to war, and he comes back and he's had injuries, and now she's taking care of him. They got married when they was like 19 or 20, 21 or whatever. And now the rest of her life, she's trying to take care of him, and she's feeling that she has to do all these things by herself. And what ended up happening, I'm talking about a very specific situation, so this is true. She ended up developing health problems because she wasn't looking out for herself. She was just looking out for him. And the best way you can look out for someone is to make sure you're healthy as well, And so it's that pressure to be all and be everything when it's not realistic. So I just thought it was important to put that out there because people are going to be coming home. And I want to be sure that when they are received back home, that the people receiving them understand that it takes a village, as the saying goes. And so let that village be there.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this up because, I'm sure it can help to a lot of families. Thank you so much. I have another question regarding, that's definitely like under your leadership. There are like 10,000s of volunteers who really dedicate like millions and millions of their hours of caring, of helping, of volunteering. What do you think actually moved them to make this commitment?
Yeah. We ask them that sometimes. Again, some are vets, but some of them are like children of vets or people that wanted to serve and couldn't for whatever reason. And so, and then I mentioned Miss Georgie, who's the mother of a vet. So there are a lot of different reasons why people want to serve. Sometimes it's for scholarships if you're a youth, which we're happy for anybody. But yeah, there's a lot of different reasons, and most of them are personal, I'm sure. But the ones that I listed are wanting to give back to the country and to serve the vets. Like some people, their passion might be children, but for a lot of us, thankfully for us, we have a lot of people that also want to serve those who have served the country.
I was about to actually ask is that, what do you think, how much it's benefit the service for the not only veterans, but actually those volunteers themselves when, they have this desire to.
So that's so funny you say that because the Surgeon General, the former Surgeon General, was talking, he was doing a podcast and I happened to be there, and he asked about the benefit of some of my programs to volunteers. And we surveyed them, and they don't get as much benefit from the program as the actual veterans, but it's very close. It's very close. So like if the veterans were getting, let's say, 87% benefit saying, hey, this makes me feel less lonely, this makes me feel more connected, the volunteers would probably be like low 80s. So the veterans might be mid to high 80s, the volunteers were low to mid 80s. And so there was definitely a mutual benefit there that we hadn't thought of before until we did the survey and said, oh, wow, this is really sort of a symbiotic thing. And you picked up on that without paying all the money I did to go to school.
Because, I also was thinking about when you give a service, when you want to really just give back, right? That's really, benefit society, of course, but that's benefit veterans. It's help, but it's really benefit in the way of even how you feel, right? And your health and your feelings when you truly honestly want to bring back. And it cannot be right like just goes by or something.
So you give me you put something else in my head, because you're absolutely right. And it's not even just volunteers. There was a survey done. Actually, yeah, there was a survey, but there was also like a group setting. And this thing came up about people that they worked at VA. And they said, I love our mission, serving vets, but I don't really work with vets day to day. And so I'm feeling a little disconnected. Is there anything you can do to make me feel more connected? Well, we already gave you a job. I'm being facetious. But we have an intern program. And one of the things that we baked into the cake based off of that feedback is allowing them to give service to veterans directly for, I think, 20 hours a fiscal year. So if it's a 2-hour or 2-year program, 40 hours. They can do more, but that would be the minimum. And we're looking forward to seeing the feedback because we haven't gotten that back yet. But I think it's going to be very positive because it allows them to give service. We carve out some time during their workday during their workday. So they don't have to do it over the weekend or at nights or anything. And it helps them feel more connected to the veterans and to the mission as well.
Nice, very nice. We will wait for the results. So
we should wait for the results.
Yeah.
You are picking up on so many things that I hadn't even thought to talk about.
No,
so
I'm
thank
so
you.
glad. Hopefully it's
No, they're
great.
absolutely great. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is
And
fun.
how do you will say to people how they can really support veterans? Like to anybody, right? Like one day they wake up and they want to do something good. They want to, help veterans. What they can do?
Yeah, acknowledge their service, acknowledge their sacrifice more than their service, and realize it's not just that veteran that served, it's actually their whole family. The wife, the husband, the children, all of them are serving as well because they're supporting that service member. And so that would probably be the biggest thing. And if you have older veterans around you, do something nice for them. We go right back to kindness. Whenever it snows here in my community, I don't know that I'm around a lot of veterans, but I shovel the sidewalks for a lot of my neighbors, like 2 to 3 doors down, all the way up to the mailbox. And I don't ask. It's a nice thing to do. I'm out here shoveling anyway. And some of these people are probably old and I'm just being silly. But it's a nice thing to do. I can shovel the snow. So if you really want to do something nice for vets, shovel their snow, cut the grass, acknowledge their service, and say thank you.
That's really, I would say, it's again in a way it's connection, right?
connection.
You come to talk with them, and then you can do something for them, right?
And you
feel
open that door. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. That's open the door.
So the person, I don't know if you've ever heard this statistic that being lonely is as bad for your health as smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so that's why it's such a big deal, is that it's really detrimental to your health. And there's a lot of other analogies with that too, and things that it could lead to. The person who led that study, her name is Dr. Julianne Holt-Lundstad. And I got to meet her like 10 months ago. And I said, wow, so what made you get interested in looking at loneliness? And she said, I wasn't looking for loneliness. I was looking for connection. And that's when they discovered the deleterious effects of loneliness.
Wow.
But she was looking for connection too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very interesting analogy, and I'm sure it's really good to talk about that honestly, to research, to, and open up, because we're people, we all go through all of that. Yeah. And it's good to not hide from that. Discuss, talk, find solution, help each other, support each other, and feel really happy about that. Yeah. Then loneliness will disappear.
You're talking about stigma, and that's one of the other things that I push is we have to destigmatize loneliness because we all get lonely at some point. It's just how chronic is it? How severe is it? And whenever it gets to that point where you're feeling lonely all the time, and it's really severe all the time, and you're having ideations, then we need to destigmatize it because those are the people that need to reach out. I'll tell you another thing, but we have a crisis hotline here. And a lot of places have these crisis suicide hotlines. And there is a statistic, and it varies widely, but both of them are too much. One is that at least 30% of the people phoning these suicide prevention lines are not suicidal, they're just lonely. On the other end, somebody says it's up to 90% that they're just lonely. And so they're like, well, I'll call this hotline because they have to talk to me. When there are other interventions that we can have. And the reason why we need other interventions is because those are crisis lines. And so if you're talking to me just because I want someone to talk to and I'm lonely, that means you're not able to talk to someone who's actually in crisis. And so that's one of the reasons we need to destigmatize it so that we can funnel these interventions where they're best met.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps, and
We're hoping.
Yeah. I want to bring here another thing about the TEDx. You created, separate TEDx for Veteran Affairs. So what moves you to create such a thing for others? And did you have any, challenges when you were, organizing all of that? But first of all, what moves you to create such a platform for the other?
That's such a great question. Well, I have a secret weapon. My secret weapon is Alicia Davis and Rachel Rousseau. Anything successful I've done has always been because there's been like smart, hardworking women that believed in the vision that I had, and sometimes even more than I did. And so I got tired of seeing negative stuff about the organization in the press, right? And then I was talking to someone and said, they don't ever talk about the good things we do. And we couldn't think of the good things. And so we said, well, if we're not able to have that conversation, why do we expect the press to have that conversation for us? And so created the TEDx so that we could share some of these stories with each other. And the first person who said yes wasn't a female, but the person who said yes that made everybody else say yes, Dr. Linda Davis, that was a game changer for us. So we only planned to do it once. We ended up doing it for 8 years. We're taking a pause this year, but we did it for at least 8 years. And
Wow.
The stories, we have veterans on there. We had transgender vets on there. We've had leaders on there. The stories that you would hear aren't stories that you would just naturally receive. And so just been very grateful for the reception. And I hope we bring it back soon because I feel that it's helped a lot of people. They've used it in training. And also people just, when they're feeling a little lonely or they need a little pick-me-up, they can click into our talent management system and watch one of the videos.
Thank you so much for that. And you also brought again the thing, like you mentioned before, about the stigma when you initially said why you decided to open, right? So the media were not talking
Exactly.
about, and it's very important because otherwise society only receives the one side,
Which is incomplete.
And but when you have like two sides and many opinions, many things, it's really important because otherwise, how I feel it, how I perceive it, is that people do not have like kind of a choice, I would say, right? If they don't know veterans, if they only like receive this information like from the media, right? So it's important. It's very important. And I'm sure it's, like you said, it helps a lot for those who loneliness, who can speak up. And these stories, I'm sure, can help somebody, can teach somebody. And that's really important. Maybe here you can share any stories throughout these years from any veterans or anybody who spoke there that probably touch you so much, touch you the most, not the most, maybe deeply. I'm sure each story is so much valuable there that you cannot say and compare the stories, but maybe something just like will come.
Right. So it's an internal program for the most part. So I'm trying to be careful not, because I was a little surprised at just how vulnerable people would be when they had that platform. Because we've had people talking about military sexual trauma, which has to end. But one of my favorites has been, there was a young lady that I was in school with, Dr. Nadia Giannopoulos or something like that. And she talked about the business case for taking care of veterans when they come home. And hers was actually on YouTube. But there was a volunteer, a student volunteer, who played the harp in Palo Alto, and no one else wanted her to play the harp, and she went there and they let her play it on the hospice unit, which is where people are near the end of their lives. And it transformed her, because she thought she was just going to get to play music, and she didn't realize what it meant to not only the veterans but also to their families that would be there sometimes. And so her story is still one of my favorites. Danielle Nam. And she ended up going to Harvard after that. But she was our Youth Volunteer of the Year that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks
I
so
get
much.
choked up when I think about it. And there was one other. His name is Tree Hairston. He was a Vietnam vet. And like I said, sometimes soldiers get asked to do things, you know. And so when he came back, number one, he was there during the civil rights movement as well. So he comes back and he didn't feel worthy. So he said he did all the drugs, all the alcohol. He was suicidal. And I probably shouldn't have said his name, but he's told his story. He probably even has a book out. And it took a social worker that came up to him one day. He came into the VA, and the social worker was like, "We're going to get you some help." And because of her conviction, he was more convicted, and he said he's never went back after that time. And so that was another very moving text. There's a ton of them, but those are just a few that really stand out to me when I think about why I'm so proud that we did that program.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I truly wish you, more power, more desire, and even more, to move this platform further and to make it again. I mean, you said that you had like a 1 year, like,
Yeah, we're doing a pause, but we'll,
yeah,
we'll bring
pause.
it back.
Yeah, because I'm sure that is needed, and that can help and support so much.
Yes.
Thank you again. Like, I'm sure you were talking to a lot of people with different backgrounds, and even, the veterans, the leadership positions, and the youth, right? So what kind of, I would say, main message you would like to give to people?
Well, I talked about integrity. I can't talk about kindness enough. What I've found is that people like to hold others accountable, but then they give themselves grace. Like, don't they know that I have all these good reasons why I'm late? I have all these good reasons why I'm a jerk. And I think that we need to hold ourselves accountable, and we need to give others grace, because you never know what people are going through, right? And a lot of times, if you met them, if you had a conversation with them, you would know and you would understand, and you would say, if I was in that person's shoes, I would want someone to give me grace. And so that's probably the most important thing, that goes beyond being a veteran. That's just being a decent human being, extending a little bit more grace to each other.
And support each other, right?
Supporting each other, absolutely.
Thank you so much for this message. And maybe I think it's a good time to wrap up, and just interesting, maybe there is anything else important for you that you would say to the people, any kind of like message that can probably inspire somebody, make these changes in the world, right? Make a better place, and anything maybe you didn't say today.
Say
right?
something to
But you
inspire the
wanted.
people, Prince. No, but the kindness is pretty much it. I believe in the next generation. We've done our best. I'm not going to say we've mucked it up irreparably, but we're not where we should be. And so I think that investing in the future and extending grace to each other, if we do that, somebody cuts you off, maybe they didn't realize they were cutting you off. And so instead of speaking all of the words except the child of God, maybe say, okay, I could be 30 seconds later. and also to believe in yourself. Right now, there are a lot of conflicts going on in the world. I want them to end too. I can't wait for them to end. I want a peaceful world. But we need people that are out there helping to secure that. I did it during my time. People are doing it now. People will do it in the future. And people will watch how we treat those that did defend their countries. They'll watch. And hopefully what they see is something that you would be proud for them to see.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure that each veteran who goes and providing a service, actually the first one who want to bring peace to this world. So we truly, truly appreciate you, your service, everything you do, because there is no cause, you know, and it's just really a big gratitude. We're truly grateful for your service and that you continue to serve. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. This was a lot of fun. You dug deep. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.